Okay, so if this is the first video you've got to, have a watch of it, go back. I've uploaded one about algebraic expressions and just how we simplify and things like that. And if you're not sure about this bit, it's best to go and look at that first. But what we're going to look at now is actually forming expressions. Okay, so when you're given some information and you need to form an expression, okay, or you need to sometimes even go to the point of forming an equation, okay, but we're going to think specifically just about actually how to form an expression, okay. Now, this is something that you probably actually can do, and you just never thought this is what it actually is. The easiest way to start with something like this is thinking of something like this, okay. So I have 3 apples and 4 pears. This is a very common thing you would see in books or in lessons and things like that. Now, I could say that apples, I'm just going to call them A because I've taken the A. Pears, equally, I'm just going to call them P. And instead of writing out this full sentence, I can just write 3A plus 4P. I have 3A and 4P in my basket. Okay, and that is literally all I have to do. Okay, I could change these numbers. Okay, so I'll stick with apples and pears. So this time I could say, I'll get rid of that one. I have 5 apples and 7 pears. Okay, so this time I'm going to say 5A plus 7P. Okay, and this is my expression. This is my expression. It does not need an equal sign. An equation needs an equal sign, an expression doesn't. Okay, I've combined numbers and letters. Now, I don't need, okay, some people would be tempted to potentially write 5 times A plus 7 times P. Okay, but when we're forming expressions, we actually don't need that. We don't need that multiplying sign in between, because 5 times A, I can just write as 5A, and 7 times P, I can just write as 7P. Okay, I could make it even more complicated. I could add in some more things, okay? I could say I have 2 apples, 3 pears, oh, sorry, excuse me. And what other fruit can I think of right now? 5 bananas. B-A-N-A-N-A-S. Oh gosh, I can't spell anymore. Bananas, okay? So, same thing. I'm just going to have slightly more. So I could have 2A plus 3P. And the obvious thing to do for the bananas is to make it 5B. Now, this is still an expression, okay? Now, where it makes it into an equation is if I told you that when I bought 2 apples, 3 pears, and 5 bananas, it cost £3.50, okay? As soon as I do that, it goes from being an expression to an equation. Okay, but we don't actually really need to worry about that too often at the minute. But it's just worth knowing the difference. Okay, so when it's just this bit here just on its own is our expression. As soon as we include all of this, okay, we are saying that actually it's now an equation. Okay, and with this, you would have to try and work out the different costs of things. And this is actually, while it's quite simple as an expression, as soon as you make it an equation, this is quite a hard equation. And definitely something you wouldn't do until you're really at the top end of GCSE, if not even A level. And you need more parts to it. Okay, so don't worry about solving that. I've made quite a complicated one, but what is important is just knowing this is the expression, this is the equation. If you were ever asked to solve something like this, they would probably tell you the cost of the apples and the cost of the pears and want you to work out the cost of the bananas. So don't panic too much that I've just given you a really complicated equation. Okay, the other things we can get And you might spot something very similar to your MyMaths, so something like this, okay? And it might talk about the perimeter. And it might talk about the area, okay? So I'm using one of the examples from MyMaths just to actually work through it, see what happens. So perimeter, we know, is the whole way around the outside, okay? So what I've got for my perimeter, so I'm just going to say P while I'm doing the work down here. So my perimeter is S plus S plus S plus S. Now, I'm never going to just leave it as S plus S plus S plus S. I'm going to just simplify that to give me 4S. Okay, again, I don't need that 4 times S. I know I could write it like that, but I don't need that times sign. Okay, if I've done it just by adding them up, actually I just get to 4S really simply. But if I think of it as I'm doing 4 times S, I don't need that times sign, because them being written together is like having that invisible times sign there. Now that's my perimeter. Imagine that it told me my perimeter was actually 36 centimetres, okay? I worked it out. Now, what I can tell you is 36 equals 4S. And I can now try to actually solve some sort of mini equation, okay? Basically, I'm doing 36 divided by 4 to give me S. So S will be 9 centimetres, okay? So what we can say is each side would equal 9 centimetres. Okay, now that's just a little bit extra. Might help you with the MyMaths questions. The other thing that we could be asked about is area. Okay, now area of a rectangle, we times the square, we times the sides together. Okay, so for my area, I'm just going to times 2 of them together. I don't need to times them all together, I just need to times 2 of them. So I've got S times S. Now, when we think back to this, we think of our square numbers. When we do 1 times 1, we've got 1 squared, or 1. 2 times 2, we've got 2 squared, or we've got 4. S times S, we just write as S squared. Okay, and that would be my area. So hopefully that has given you a little bit on how to actually set up and form these equations, okay? So just watch out for things like the times signs, okay? Getting rid of those. Yeah, and just literally read through. Can you make them into letters? Can you make them something easier to work with? Would be my advice with these. Okay, so keep going, and hopefully you will get there. Bye.